Hello, self-propagation of roses is a fascinating adventure. After all, watching how this shrub changes and develops before the first bloom is very exciting. Fans of garden roses eventually become true experts in ways to increase their collection without much expense. The easiest way to propagate roses, cuttings, is attractive for its versatility. Unlike the rather complicated methods of grafting roses, growing rose hips from seed, and the not-so-popular method of rooting offshoots, which, moreover, is not suitable for all roses, cuttings are a simple and very productive way of obtaining rooted roses. Not all roses root equally well. Cuttings are considered the ideal propagation method for ground cover roses. Floribunda, polyanthus, plated, and miniature roses also root well, but hybrid favorites develop worse. Each variety of rose has its own characteristics, and whether the type is suitable for cuttings, it is better to specify the characteristics of the plants. But all roses can be tried if desired. Cuttings. There are many advantages to growing roses from cuttings. Bushes do not form wild shoots. Even in case of extinction, they are able to recover completely. Roses are better adapted to the conditions of a particular garden. It is the least costly in terms of effort and time required propagation method. Root roses can be rooted in different ways: in the garden, in a separate bed, in a seedling, in a greenhouse or greenhouse, in a cuttings box or a special closed box, in containers or pots. Advantages of summer cuttings: in the summer, when the rose bush is actively growing and developing, it is not challenging to choose planting material. In summer, rose cuttings can be germinated in the open ground or at home. Propagation in the warm season allows you to get a strong plant in the fall. Wintering in the open ground with a light shelter on cuttings use the middle part of the shoots. It is very convenient to focus on the thickness, choosing branches with a diameter of 5 to 7 millimeters. To cut shoots of roses deflected from the bush, inspect, determine the position of the buds, and cut off the shoot under the strong bud directed outward, trying to make a smooth, clean cut without nicks and breaks at an angle of 45 degrees, which then will not have to update. The soft top is carefully cut off above the leaf or bud. Stripping the cuttings of thorns is the first step. Rose shoots are cut into cuttings 10 to 20 centimeters long, from bottom to top, leaving 2 buds, 1 internode, for conventional varieties, and 3 buds, respectively, 2 internodes, for varieties with shortened shoots. The stem is cut into fragments so that the lower cut at an angle of 45 degrees was directly under the leaf node, bud, and the upper was even, straight, and made approximately 3 to 5 millimeters above the bud. The lower leaves of the cuttings are removed and 1 upper leaf is left, cut in half to limit the area of moisture evaporation. for roses is not necessary, but it is desirable to carry out soaking in a growth stimulator. The lower part, about 3 centimeters of the cuttings, immersed in a container diluted according to the manufacturer's instructions of the drug that stimulates root formation. Standard treatment, 12-24 hours. Also, practice a faster option. From the bottom centimeter of the cuttings, cut the bark, carefully cleaned, not dipping too deep, but only removing the top layer of bark, and dip it in powder or undiluted rooting agent, immediately planting. For planting into the soil in the garden or greenhouse, deep furrows are prepared, with a layer of sand at the bottom. If there are few cuttings, they can be planted in individual wells. For planting in containers, selected pots, or cups, trays are filled halfway with substrate, without tamping the soil, abundantly watering and letting the excess moisture drain away. A layer of sand is poured on top. Cuttings are planted in the soil after 5 to 20 centimeters. Cuttings are simply placed at an incline, crimping the soil. It is convenient to use a stick or a pencil to make holes. Cuttings are planted at a slight incline, up to 45 degrees, immersing the twigs at 2 to 3 centimeters, so that the lower bud is in the ground. The substrate is carefully crimped, fixing the cuttings. When planting in the garden and greenhouse, the planted cuttings are watered, if desired, to reduce the risk of rotting and the spread of mold. The soil surface and cuttings can be sprayed with a solution of systemic fungicide. Finalize planting by covering the cuttings with caps or building a greenhouse over them with polyethylene film. Conditions determine the success of cuttings of roses in containers, cuttings, and greenhouse. Stable, unchanged heat, from 21 to 25 degrees. In extreme cases, from 18 to 21 degrees. Bottom heating is excellent. Bright lighting, but no direct sun. Regular inspections and periodic airing. Prompt removal of falling leaves. Regular but careful watering, approximately every other day or every other day, and spraying of cuttings to maintain a stable humidity of 90 to 100%. Respraying with fungicides if mold or an unpleasant odor develops. Conveniently placed summer cuttings in the garden, in diffused light under shrubs. We wish you much beauty and harmony in your garden and in your life. Thank you for your likes, comments, and subscriptions. See you again soon.